guys, what's up? It's Vampire Bride. Today I'm doing a review of playing Oblivion as a vampire. I hope you enjoy the video. I want to start this off by saying the PlayStation 3 Game of the Year Edition version of this game has a glitch where you cannot cure vampirism. Any of the other versions of the game, including the Xbox 360 and PC versions, even their Game of the Year editions, will work, but not the PlayStation 3 Game of the Year edition. This is the first of the Elder Scrolls games that I played, so I was still kind of trying to learn how it worked. I didn't even know that you could become a vampire, and I didn't know that I had become a vampire until my character started burning in the sun and started to look weird. But we'll get to that in a minute. I started a new game so that I'd be able to show the process of becoming a vampire. So here's how to become a vampire in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Go to one of the vampire caves. The most talked about one is Barren Caves because it's close to where you begin the game. It won't show up on your map at first because you haven't discovered it yet, but it's off the Blue Road between Imperial City and Shadenhall. Here's a list of other places where you can find vampires. These are places where you can contract the disease willingly or purposely avoid it. Barren Cave is sort of the main one, I'd say, as it is close to the entrance at the very beginning of the game, if you just want to knock that out right at the beginning, and there are also some scattered vampires throughout the map. I recommend saving your game just before initiating battle, so if you die or decide you don't want to be a vampire anymore, you can start back at the closest point. Once you find some vampires, basically all you have to do is engage in melee combat with a vampire. You have to take damage from them, so you can't just run in and destroy them, and you can't use powers to beat them at a distance. Even fighting with a sword, you aren't really close enough, but if you try hand-to-hand combat, you'll be able to quickly contract the disease. You will get a message at the top of your screen saying you contracted porphyric hemophilia. If you miss this message and aren't sure you contracted the disease, you can see hints of it in places in the menu, which I will show in a bit. Once you receive this message, you then have 3 days, a full 72 hours before becoming a vampire. During this time, you do have the option to cure yourself by going to any chapel in the game and praying at the altar of the Nine. Or, of course, you can revert back to a previous save. Now, you have 3 different options for getting through this 72 hours. You can play the game for 3 in-game days, or you can hurry the process along by using the wait command. Or sleep in a bed for 72 hours. I opted for sleep, as you also have to have at least 1 hour of sleep in a bed to complete your transformation. I fast traveled to Shadenhall West Gate and went forward and slightly left to get to Newland's Lodge to get a bed for the night, or in this case 3. After you complete at least 1 hour of sleep, in my case I slept for the entire 72, you wake up and read of a dream about someone sleeping and getting attacked by a nicely described vampire. You awake screaming, realizing the person in the dream was yourself. After this, you are officially a vampire. So now that I've talked about how to become a vampire, I want to get to the meat of this video and talk about what it's like playing Oblivion as a vampire. At this point, you will start to notice that you can't go into the sunlight for very long without burning and even dying. Though you will take damage very slowly at first, you will see smoke going off of your character. And when you first step into the light, your controller will vibrate, and the screen will blur for a second, letting you know that you're taking damage. If you stay in the sun too long or take too long to get to cover, you will burn and die, which is a nuisance in itself, but it can be really bad when you are in the middle of getting to a town. So you're on some in-between road in the middle of nowhere and you get caught when the sun comes up. Of course, you start to lose health and eventually die in the middle of the road. Well, then the game decides to start you back where you died, in the middle of nowhere and still in the sun, causing you to die repeatedly. When this happened to me, I decided to keep dying to see if the time would move forward slowly and eventually get into nighttime. Well, this was not the case. It kept bringing me back at the same time. You can't use the wait command, as that usually doesn't work when you're taking damage, and on the chance that it does, you then are waiting in the sun, so you still end up dying. Then there is fast travel, which you also cannot use while taking damage. So my only option was to go back to a previous save. In this little example, I show what my character looked like when I made her and what she looks like changed by vampirism. And this isn't even the worst that it gets. The more burnt by the sun or the longer it's been since you fed, the worse your character will start to look. Also, your character gets older and honestly uglier looking, which sucks because in many vampire stories, vampires become more beautiful and look ageless, not older and uglier. And if you're like me, you took time to make your character just how you wanted them, only for them to be greatly changed by vampirism. When you first turn into a vampire, or the first couple of days after feeding, people will still talk to you as if you are a regular person. There's still the usual, "Oh, what can I do for you, friend?" But after 4 days, when you are considered a full vampire, people start to not want to talk to you. People that you try to talk to will start to say things like, "Go away," or "You're not getting any of my blood." And people you just walk by will ask you if you are ill or if you've seen a healer recently. Here, I'll show you an example.
No, stay away from me!
You won't get any of my blood. Get away from me.
No, stay away from me! Get back, you filthy beast! I have nothing to do with the likes of you!
Have you been well recently?
Added skills and deficits are added to the menu, and if you move your cursor over the ability or deficit, it'll explain it a bit. So let me lay it out a bit. The positives are some bonus skills: Fortify Strength, Willpower, Speed, Acrobatics, Athletics, Destruction, Hand-to-Hand, Mysticism, and Sneak. Your added special skills are Resist Disease, Normal Weapons, and Paralysis, meaning that you cannot catch any other disease or paralysis, as if vampirism isn't enough. And your added special abilities include Night Eye, Vampire Seduction, and Reign of Terror. And the cons are pretty much what I've already mentioned, including sun damage, weakness to fire, having to stop regular gameplay to feed or wait till nighttime, character changes, and other characters don't want to talk to you. It's a bit of a give and take. You get all these new abilities, but you burn in the sun, which seems to come very quickly in-game hours, making you feel like you're just waiting in the shadows for nighttime to come. Doing this chart made it seem like there's a lot more positives to becoming a vampire than there are negatives, but the negatives affect your game a whole lot more. As I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, there is a cure for vampirism in the game, but it is a long drawn-out mission. And though it would save more time than continuing to play as a vampire, it still takes a lot of time and effort, and takes away from the rest of the game's story. There are 2 different ways to go through Oblivion as a vampire. Embrace vampirism, don't feed and suffer the consequences, as well as waiting throughout the whole day for it to become nighttime so that you can actually play the game, or stop often to feed. It is a cool thing to be able to do, but honestly, I'd prefer not to. It takes too much away from the game. Despite the heightened powers, I don't feel like it's worth it. Having to stop constantly to find somewhere where someone is sleeping so that you can feed, or waiting out the day in cover because you can't go in the sun for more than a few seconds without burning to death. I just feel like I'm wasting half of my game waiting. For some, it may bring a whole new allure to the game, being a vampire, having to feed on people and stay out of the sun. But for me, it's just not worth it. I would prefer to just be able to play the game. It simply just isn't for me. So those are my thoughts about playing Oblivion as a vampire. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit that like button if you liked it, and of course subscribe for more videos to come.